Hi guys, good afternoon. How are we doing?
Better than the other weeks.
Okay, we'll take that. That's awesome.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, had a good weekend. It rained. The wind is starting to pick up now though, unfortunately, but yeah, it was a good weekend. I'm starting to get caught up on grading a little bit. So hopefully by the end of the week, I will be caught up. So awesome. Okay, well, guys, I think that this is us today, and so I don't want to delay any longer. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got just a few poll everywhere questions just to make sure that we are all on the same page. So I'm going to put that link into the chat. And while we are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can look at the questions and I can make sure that stuff is activated because I've been having issues with that. All right, so your first question, guys, is in one word or emoji. How are you feeling about the first 5 weeks of the semester? This week being week 5. So all right, let me know if you guys can't see or have problems with the link. I have been having issues with Pull Everywhere. So hopeful. All right, we'll take that. All right. It's going so fast. I completely agree. All right, we're just going to take one more minute here, you guys, and so you can get the link and everything figured out and get your responses in. All right, so for those of you guys that are just coming in, I'm going to paste the link to Pull Everywhere again without the comma on that one, sorry. So I just want to hear from you about how you think things are going the first 5 weeks, not for just for this class, but just for Chico State in general. So all your classes. All right, cool. Relaxed and then overwhelmed. Okay, we've definitely got the two extremes. I feel you. All right, we'll just take a couple more seconds and then we'll go to our next question. Yes, Chico in college is expensive. I feel for you. I did about 10 years worth of college. It was a lot. So. All right, guys. Well, thank you for participating in that. I don't get to see you guys very often, so I just want to make sure that that I'm connecting with you. And as always, if there's things that we need to be doing better, we can, or if I can help you find some of the resources, I'm happy to do that as well. All right, let's go to our next question. Just wanting to know a little bit about how you guys are perceiving the class. So this one just went active. So what in this class is working well for you? If you had to pick one thing, what is working well?
Still says the poll is locked on my end.
Oh, come on.
At the bottom, it looks like on your screen under the poll powered by Poll Everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah.
There we go. Now we're unlocked. Okay. My gosh, you have to lock it, then you have to deactivate it. All right, let me know if you guys can't see that now. Okay, quizzes are good. Good. Happy to hear that. Okay, good. Organization is helpful. That's good. I've worked a lot on better organizing my classes since we moved online. I think that's probably the best thing that's come out of COVID. Outlines, okay. Is that the note guide? If you guys say the outlines, are you referring to the note guide?
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I know what you're talking about. Yeah, weekly assignments. Okay. Great. I love hearing you know what you need to do. Okay, the scenarios. Awesome. That's good. Good. All right, well, I'm just gonna take about 30 more seconds here, guys, and then we'll go ahead and move on because we've got a lot to get through today. But I'll keep these responses and as kind of a record for as I continue to evolve the class and all that good stuff. So, okay, fantastic. We're going to go ahead and move to the next question, which is basically the opposite of this one. So what could be improved? And I think it's unlocked. Now it's activated. So, and if you guys are not comfortable with putting, it in a poll everywhere response and want to connect with me individually, like during office hours, that is fine. Or you can send me a direct message, but I am totally up for criticism. So I'm always working to make stuff better. And unfortunately, Blackboard was not really designed with you guys in mind. And so I just trying to figure out the best way to interface with the material with you guys has been a challenge. So. Self-study guide is a bit hard. Okay, I would love to hear more about that. Okay, we're just going to take about 30 more seconds here. I'm taking not responding as we're fine, the class is fine, roll on. So, but I would like to talk to you about the self-study guide. So, because that's not going to be the only one that we're going to have. Okay, let's go ahead and roll to our next question. Okay, here we go. Activate it. Okay. So this goes back to chapter 4 material that you guys went through last week. So where we talked about free Martinism, actually talked about that in chapter 2, 3, and 4. So free Martinism in cattle is caused by which event? Fusion of the mesopharynx tubules to the rete testes, absence of the SRY protein on chromosome Y, failure of the testes to descend during gestation, or a shared blood supply among male and female feti. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a minute here, and then we'll lock it in. Okay, about 30 more seconds here, guys. All right, I'm going to go ahead and lock these in. Okay, so where are our responses at? So we got 1 vote for fusion of the tubules, 1 vote for SRY protein, and then a few votes for shared blood supply. Yeah, so those of you guys that selected the shared blood supply about among male and female feti are correct. So when we get a set of twins in cattle, what ends up happening is those embryos very early on will start producing sexual hormones, so estradiol and testosterone. And testosterone has the ability, if it's produced from the male, it has the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier of the female sibling and neutralize or deactivate the GnRH surge center in the hypothalamus. And so it doesn't kill the embryo. That embryo is still going to grow into a fetus. It's still going to have the potential to go through parturition. And so you could still see an alive set of calves. One will be a bull calf that is fully fertile, and one will be a heifer calf that is infertile. And what ends up happening is because there's a lack of estradiol being able to feed back to the surge center, because there isn't one in the female hypothalamus, actually the rest of the repro tract will fail to develop fully. And so that's where we get a free Martin heifer. So not all heifers are fertile. If they're born to a male twin or as a sibling to a male twin, then chances are they will be infertile. Excellent. Okay. And then I think this is our last question for today. So I'm gonna go ahead and activate it. So chapter 4 talked about a lot about inguinal hernias, and they are most common in which species? Cattle, goats, horses, sheep, or swine? All right, take about 30 more seconds here, guys, and then we'll move on. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lock in these answers. So let's look at our responses. Swine, great. You guys got it. Yeah, swine end up with this problem semi-often, and a lot of it actually does go back to genetics. So there's definitely some bad luck associated with that trait being expressed, and then there's definitely some genetics that will occur as well. All right, great. Well, that is the end of our poll everywhere questions. I'm gonna continue to do a few of them. I noticed that only about 4 to 5 of you guys were actually participating in them. So if that continues to be the trend, I just probably won't waste the time, because you guys are obviously know what's going on. So anyway, just keep that in mind. I'm only gonna utilize this time for what is the most effective, and poll everywhere questions may not be effective, and that's fine. So I will put a set together for next week, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so today my goal is first and foremost, we'll go through Blackboard and look at it, and then I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'll share my screen with you for Blackboard too, and then we're going to talk through the semester project. And so this recording is where you can find the specifics about the project, okay? And there's going to be a tab in Blackboard, which I'll show you in a minute as well. All right, so let's go through. All right, so as far as the class material for this week, week 5, we are officially starting chapter 5, which was one of my favorite chapters. It's all about endocrinology or hormones. So chapter 5 is a big hunkin' chapter. I'm gonna just be honest with you guys about that right now. And so we split it into 2 weeks. There's a couple of resources here available for you. So there's, of course, the note guide, partial notes that you can fill in. And then there is a Khan Academy video. And so chapter 5 is where we really start getting into certain processes that happen at the cellular level. Okay, and so one of the first big ones is how neurons function. And so we spend a lot of time talking about material and actions that are happening in the brain, specifically the lower brain. The hypothalamus is really the key regulator of reproduction in livestock species. And so in the hypothalamus, it is made up of gray tissue, which basically puts a barrier around a lot of our neurons. And then it's made up of all these billions and billions and billions of neurons. And we talked through neurons at the beginning of this chapter. And so you'll see some reference to that as well. But these neurons are what makes hormones like GnRH, or gonadotropin releasing hormone. That is the big regulator. These neurons are also going to be the item that responds to hormones feeding back from the gonads. So when estradiol is produced from the ovaries, when a female is in a standing heat, that estradiol is going to feed back through the blood system to neurons in the hypothalamus and is going to eventually lead to the pre-ovulatory LH surge. And so it's really important to that you guys have a good overview of neuron function. And so the Khan Academy did a great job at really taking you through that. So there's a link to their resource there as well. And then with the endocrinology chapter 5 material, there are 3 parts to kind of the introduction to endocrinology. So part A, B, and C. And then we get into the sourcing of the hormones. So where the hormones are actually being produced from. So when you think of source, think of tissue, right? So this tissue is producing this hormone, etc. And so there is a study guide that I threw in. It's just for your guys' reference. And then the endocrinology lecture quiz, which will be due this Friday by the end of day. And so that's what lecture material looks like this week. Again, we're just getting through the first part of chapter 5. This is a chapter you want to make sure you are reading the textbook and taking really good notes, because there's a lot of intricate details associated with it. All right, so that is what Blackboard looks like this week. Is there any questions before I move on to the semester project about the material that has been presented in class so far, as well as what is due this week? All right, so just give me a thumbs up using the reaction button if you guys are good to move on. Great, thank you. Okay, so we are gonna switch gears and talk about the semester project. And so when you get to the welcome page for Blackboard, you'll notice that there is a new tab right under the Start Here module. It is a semester project module. And so the semester project is just that. It's going to be worth 100 points. And that's not what I wanted. Nope. It's going to be worth 100 points. So it's actually going to be worth about 6 to 10 quizzes. Okay, so this is not something that you want to leave until the last minute. All right, so let me stop sharing real quick and get to the right document. There we go. Come on, dude. Oh my goodness. So There we go. All right, sorry, I had to get to the right document. All right, so the whole goal of this project is to take the basic science in the lecture material that we've been studying throughout the semester and put it into an applicable form. So this is where you guys take all that information and you create something new using it. And so what the semester project is really going to be based on you working individually or as a group. I am fine with either scenario. The as far as due dates, before we get into what it actually is, the due dates are going to be basically the Friday before Dead Week, not the Friday of Dead Week, but it's the Friday that we come back from Thanksgiving break. So in this case, it's Friday, December 3rd. And the reason for that is because I've got a lot of other class stuff due on Friday of Dead Week, and I need extra time to get through these because you guys put a lot of work into them. I want to make sure that I have the time to grade them in depthly. All right, so with your either by yourself or as a group, you guys will create a really comprehensive production parameters that's going to detail background of a livestock operation. We're going to focus really specifically on reproductive goals, but you cannot ignore other aspects of a management system like nutrition, herd health, etc. Okay, so you guys, I'll just kind of let you read through the overview a little bit later. It's got more detail in it, but the way that this really works out is this is not just a semester project where you guys either in a group or an individual go out and just make this happen and then turn it in. This is a mentorship opportunity. And so I really highly encourage you guys to make multiple appointments with me and ask questions. I love this assignment because it really enables you to bring your interests and your background and what you're taking away from this class to create something new. You're creating a whole new operation. All right, so again, you can do this individually or as a group. Please limit group members to 3. If you want to go to 4, you have to have a really good reason. We'll read through the scenarios here in just a second, and I'll give you a little bit of additional background on them. And then we're going to walk through what the components of the assignment are, but it's basically broke down into 3 major areas that each person will need to become an expert in. So one of them is livestock production. One of them is being the business manager, and which you can think of as economics. So if we've got ag business people in here, that's a great spot for you to use your skills and your passion. And then the third piece is kind of computer Excel manager stuff. So this is the person that's going to be pulling a lot of the report together. And this is just a guideline. It is not set in stone. Okay. And so again, this project is, you guys are going to submit as a PDF file. It's probably going to be pretty big. I've seen this project range anywhere from 5 pages, which is not that great of a score, I'll be honest, clear up to 30. So just be aware and just keep in mind there is overkill. I've seen overkill with this project as well. But as far as what the report needs to contain, you're basically working through several different sections, okay, as you create this new operation. And so your first section is going to be providing background information, and some of that information can come from the scenario itself. You can absolutely take some leeway with some of the more intricate components, which means leeway means you can create it, you can make it up as long as it's based on research, okay? And so this is where you identify the type of the operation, what the goals of the operation are. Okay, so goals here are very broad. Okay, so the goals of an operation are like to produce, healthy beef product to the American consumer, right? Or if you want to get a little bit more focused, it could be to produce, healthy backgrounded weaned calves to go into the stocker sector. Those are kind of overarching goals, whereas section 2 is more reproductive specific, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. Also in background information is where you can detail out your herd size. Okay, so not just one big number that includes all of the animals in your operation, but this is where you can get specific. How many breeding females do you have? How many virgin females do you have that are puberal or pre-puberal? How many males do you have if you're keeping males in your battery, etc. You can also detail out the environment that your operation is in. So what is the climate like? What is the terrain like? What feedstuffs are available? What is the optimum breeding or calving, lambing, farrowing seasons? Okay. And then finally, the breeds that you are going to be raising. So why do they fit in that scenario? That needs to be justified. All right, section 2 is where we start to hone in on reproduction. And so this is the reproduction class. So we are going to spend a lot of this project outlining and achieving reproductive goals. So when it comes to reproductive goals, these get even more specific than your operation goals. So for example, if my overall production goal was to produce weaned, backgrounded, high quality calves available to go to a stocker operator, then my specific reproductive goals would look much more specific. Like I plan to increase the pounds weaned per calf or per cow exposed percentage from 85% to 87%. Okay, so really quickly, this is where I want you guys to talk to me a little bit. When we talk about increasing reproductive efficiency and reproductive traits, why isn't 100% a realistic value? Why is it not realistic to aim for 100% conception rate or pregnancy rate or calving, lambing, farrowing rate? Why is it not realistic?
Because other things can happen. There can be human error if you just bought them and they're like a free martin, or it's the first time heifers, like not all of them are gonna make it. So then those get sent out. You're always like modifying in your operation and like seeing what works, and like not all animals are the same. So
right. Thank you, Merlin, for that. That's exactly right. So we can hope, we can manage, we can, create management practices and production scenarios to try to reach 100%. But the reality of it is that we very rarely will ever get there. And so this is why it's important to make incremental progress if we're trying to improve a reproductive trait in our herd. And so what I want you guys to keep in mind is that I will see a major red flag if you guys write out a reproductive goal. We're going to have 100% calving rate, okay, or something like that. So it's not realistic, because you are also going to be budgeting and preparing profit and loss statements to accompany your management goals. And you're going to be looking at them over a 5-year period. And budgeting for 100% calf crop or piglet crop or lamb crop is not realistic. So you need to be as realistic as possible with your budget sheets. Okay, so reproductive goals need to need to be kind of a moving target. So if you have 85% conception rate and you want to improve it to 87, how does that play out in your herd? That's a really good reproductive goal. Some of the most enjoyable conversations I've had around with this project with previous classes has been identifying these goals. And so this is the part that I really want to talk to you guys about individually. Once you select your scenario, you've got kind of some of your background information figured out. Let's meet. Let's schedule a time to meet. I would love to help you flesh out these repro goals. All right. So reproductive goals are a section all by themselves. That's how important they are. Section 3 is all about your reproductive strategies and your genetic improvement. Okay, so let me, I get lots of questions every year, and maybe I need to rewrite this, and that's fine. I can work on that later. But I get lots of questions about the difference between reproductive strategies and reproductive performance down here. And so reproductive strategies are the strategies that you are going to introduce into your herd or into your operation that is going to help you achieve your reproductive goals. So for example, if you are a club lamb outfit, you're producing lambs that are going to be sold to 4-H and FFA kids. And you've just been using bucks to cover your ewes up to this point. A reproductive strategy that you may want to start using would be something like laparoscopic AI. Okay, so your reproductive strategies is where you detail out the science. Okay, so you detail out the management and you tell me on a day-to-day basis what is happening for you to execute that strategy. Okay, so this could be as intricate as day 0, we put cedars in. Day 7, we pull cedars and give an injection of prostaglandin F2 alpha. That prostaglandin F2 alpha will make the ewe ovulate if she hasn't already. And the cedar will create a baseline of progesterone in her system that is going to fool her reproductive system into thinking that she's pregnant. Okay, so this is where things like detailing out the science that you're learning in class meets a calendar, in all honesty. All right, the genetic improvement part of this can also be used to help you reach your reproductive goals. Okay, so if you need to manage or create new management strategies and thresholds to where you're like culling all of your open cows or culling all of your open sows, because even though they're good structurally, they are not reaching your number of piglets born alive type of thresholds. So that genetic improvement can also help you to achieve your reproductive goals. All of these things go together. All right, so that's the third section, is where you detail out reproductive strategies. This is the place where I love to see calendars. This is the place where I love to see explanations of what you're learning in class being applied to a strategy. Section 4 is for our business people in the class, okay? So the folks that are really going to hone in on the budget. This is the marketing plan. So this not only encompasses what you're going to market, so what makes you money on the ranch, okay, or the operation, but how you are going to produce or market that product. So this can be not only an explanation of what you actually produce, but it can also be a marketing plan for this is how I plan to market my animals, whether it's like we're going to go to an auction, or I'm going to do direct marketing where I call up people and ask them if they want to buy, my animals. It could be an online auction. It could be a whole online campaign that we're starting to see that has multiple facets of like social media and Instagram lives and all of that type of stuff. So for those people that are really interested in the communication business side of it, this section is absolutely for you. All right. And then the last piece of the marketing plan is that you need to detail out why your scenario is the best financial option for you. Why are you doing that scenario instead of something else? Because at the end of the day, we can love our animals as much as we want, and we can love technology and implementing all this stuff. But if it doesn't make us money, we are not sustainable. All right, so you need to provide that economic justification. And then section 5 is going to be where everybody works together. And so, or where in the past I've seen everybody come together and work together. So this is where you detail out the reproductive performance and match that with the economics. Okay, so our business folks that really like the money side of stuff, this is where we need you to take a lead. Okay, and so this is where you're going to list out the specific reproductive management practices or strategy that was detailed out in section 3 that's going to be used to accomplish your goal. What expenses are associated with that? What does your calendar look like? How much labor do you need, etc. Okay, and then you're going to start making predictions. Okay, and so your predictions for part B here is where you so the most successful that I have seen, the people that get A's, in all honesty, is the people that show me a 5-year set of profit and loss statements. So year 1 can be kind of your baseline year. It's what you're going to fix, right? Year 2 is where you start implementing strategies. Year 3 is where you start seeing some of the fruition for your strategies that you implemented. You're going to see even more in year 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so for example, if I want to improve my calving or pounds weaned per cow exposed from 85% to 90%, it's going to happen by 1% by year 2, 3% by year 3, 4% by year 4, and that 5% by year 5. Okay, so we aren't going to make these huge improvements in just 1 year. So again, this stuff takes time, especially when we start talking about our cattle friends that have longer gestation rates, right? Sorry, excuse me. All right. So also in section 5, this is where you predict your performance and its effects. Okay, so what does pregnancy look like? What does parturition look like? And your net profit and loss. You're also going to provide an annual management and production timeline. This can be a calendar. I love seeing calendars that are like January through December, and we're going to do this at this time and this at this time. You don't have to have exact days, but you got to have ballparks, right? All right, and then finally, your budget needs to be provided as a spreadsheet or a table, and you guys are going to have the opportunity to either attach that to your PDF or to upload it or link in a Google Sheet. And so this is the way I would do it, okay? So I've seen this work pretty successfully in the past, and I'm telling you guys because you made the effort to be here today. If you make me a Google Sheet, that's totally fine. Have your master sheet on top, or sheet 1 as your master sheet that is going to look at the year 1 differences and the year 5 differences and profit and loss. Have sheet 2, 3, 4, and 5 be your year sheets. So in year 2, our numbers are going to look like this. In year 3, our numbers are going to look like this, and so on. All right, so that is probably the best way that you can convince me that your reproductive strategies are going to achieve your reproductive goals.
Could you explain that one more time? You said sheet 1 basically has our first sheet has just the 1 year.
It's kind of your overview, Caleb. So okay. Yeah, so your first sheet, if you put on there like expenses or income and expenses, right? And you've got several things listed out. So it could be, and I go to beef, I'm sorry guys, but it could be sale of calves, sale of cull cows, and then your expenses would be, reproductive breeding supplies, feed, all of that good stuff. And so if you had those listed out, income and expenses for year 1, and then another set of columns for year 5, at the bottom of that sheet, do the math. Show me how much you're actually improving your bottom line by implementing these strategies. And then the subsequent sheets, like sheet 2, 3, and 4, can be how you make that incremental progress. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's basically the 1 is the overview, and then the 2, 3, and 4 are going to be those middle years, I'm assuming, between 1 and 5.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. So
Okay.
yeah, so for example, if we go back to that pounds weaned per calf exposed percentage, and we wanted to move it over a 5-year period from 85% to 90%, the first sheet would have that big jump from 85 to 90%. But your second sheet would only have like maybe 1 or 2 percentages that first year. And then your second year would be another percentage, and your third year would be another percentage.
Got
Does
it.
that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And guys, I want to help you through this process. So like, this is where I want you guys to come, like, let's schedule a meeting and I'll help you through this whole thing. But right now I'm telling you how to get an A. Okay. So awesome. Okay. The summary part of your proposal just needs to be you summarizing, hey, these were my reproductive goals. This is how we're improving them. And this is how much money we're going to make. Okay. So just a summary of your management plan, as well as a summary of your profit and loss. Absolutely need to use references here, and references not only of like peer-reviewed journals or the textbook or my lectures. People always forget about that stuff, right? But this is where you can reference out like personal communications with a consultant, or if you called an extension agent for a certain area of the country, like if you called an extension agent in Texas and you're interested in doing horses or something like that, and you talk to them about the different feedstuffs available, that's a personal communication that needs to go in references. If you do some internet searching for, prices of hormones or something like that, that also needs to go in references as well. And then your appendix or your appendices can be anything extra. So this could be where your calendar goes, the full calendar. This could be where any supporting literature goes. This could be where the extra sheets of your budget go. Just anything extra that you feel like you need to have, and show me that you know what you're talking about, if that makes sense. All right, so that's kind of the overview of the semester project. Again, individual or as a team, I'm fine with either scenario. Again, it's an opportunity for mentorship and to master this material. But basically what you are basing this report on is one of 13 scenarios. All right, so if you are going to use like estrus synchronization, I gave you some baseline prices that you can use here. Okay, so prostaglandin F2 alpha or Lutalyse is about $3.39 a dose, et cetera, et cetera. So use these values in your budget. All right, so we don't have time to walk through every single one of these, but you do have a variety of scenarios that we've developed over the years, okay? So if you're interested in pigs, there's a couple pig scenarios for you. If you're interested in cattle, there's several cattle scenarios for you all over the US, some in Nebraska, some in Oklahoma. If you're interested in horses, there's scenarios in Kentucky and Texas. Okay. If you are interested in dairy, there's a couple different dairy scenarios in here as well. Pigs, dairy, couple lamb examples, or scenarios in here as well. What I do want to point out before I let you guys get out of here is scenario 12 is pretty open. If you have a operation at home, or you have a friend's operation that you want to use instead of one of these scenarios, I want to give you the freedom to do that. The more applied you can make, the better. And I love talking through this stuff with you guys, especially if they're facing problems. This is where we together can, can help them a little bit. All right, so that's scenario 12. Scenario 13 is if you are just at a loss and you don't like any of these scenarios, you can always default to one of the farm units. So the sheep unit, the swine unit, the beef unit, or the dairy. I just need to know that so I can give the herdsmen and the student technicians a heads up that you may be contacting them, okay? Because I don't like to turn 50 students loose and not give my colleagues, fair warning that my class is coming for them. So, but they love talking about this stuff. That's what the farm is there for. And in some scenarios, guys, it may be what you're the most familiar with. And I get that. I absolutely get that. So that's what we got. That's the semester project. I will gladly hang out and take questions that you may have. And I will post this as probably the resource. I'll post it in 2 places. I'll post it in the semester project module and on week 5's module as well. So you guys can reference back to this. All right. That's what I got. Can I answer any questions for you guys?
I have a question, but I don't think it's not necessary. So like if you need to have people go and then I can ask after, I can.
Okay, that works. All right, guys. Well, if you don't have questions, that's totally fine. Feel free to jump off. If you're feeling totally overwhelmed, that's normal. I'm happy about that actually, because you're going to start thinking about it now in week 5 and not in week 13, which has happened before.
Yeah, so about that, it would just be one big submission.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I am going to have everybody that is in the class submit something. Okay, because I don't want to miss. So here's what's happened in the past, Marlon. I've had students be in like groups of 4 that I didn't know about. I had never met with them. They weren't on my radar. And they forgot to put everybody's names in the document, and only one person submitted it. And then I had group projects that were 0s, and that really drags grades down. So I had to do change of grade submissions and stuff. So last semester it worked really well. Everybody is going to submit something. So even if you work as a group, you all have the same document, you guys are going to submit it together.
Okay.
Cool. Good question. All right, so just to give you guys a heads up, I do want to talk to you about this stuff. Here's what's coming up on my schedule. Next week is pretty open. The week after that, I start mandatory advising for 3 weeks, and then I'm gone for a week the end of October. All right, so don't wait till November to start talking about this stuff. The formal office hours thing just doesn't work for me. I'm trying to figure out bookings right now. So I may have an explanation in my email on Friday about how to book an appointment with me if I can figure it out. It's another technology right now. And so you guys can book appointments with me that way, or just good old fashioned email, and we can work out a time as well. All right, cool. Well, don't forget about the endo quiz due on Friday, and start thinking through this project. That's all I got for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so